You know what awesome stands for?
What?
Articulate, well-trained, enthusiastic, sincere, original, motivated, and excited.
That's pretty good. I'm gonna have to write that down. I was trying to think in my head what the O would be, and that's actually pretty good. Be original, be yourself. That's good. Very good. See, you learned something. That's the intro. What? Nice to be back.
We almost missed you last week.
It's actually been 2 weeks. If you haven't noticed, I mean, I know everybody else has noticed. That's why I didn't. Anytime anybody's asked to send a link to the show, I said I'm not on there. Don't worry about it. But I'm happy to be back, even though we had a little bit of technical difficulties, not just with the camera, but obviously with my hands.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
I know. I was excited to show everyone my T-Rex costume. Hold, please. For Halloween, but the little air pump didn't have batteries, so actually the was going to use it to segue into the show of how times have changed. I mean, obviously from the dinosaur era, but just thinking about a lot of information that's been going out lately about the expectation of men and what we're expected to do or what the standards are. So if I were a dinosaur living in this time, would I be happy to be in this world right now?
So
the masculinity of men has been questioned of how we're viewed and how we're making my hands sweaty and how we're viewed. So I wanted to take your opinion on what you thought as a father, as a husband, one of our fellow brothers. Do you feel maybe within the last 5 to 10 years, do you feel the perception of how to be a man or within the household has changed?
I mean, I think society is constantly changing. I think there are pivotal moments in history that you can look at that have changed. I think you can look at COVID. I think people have changed since COVID. I think the first year of COVID, people were trying to find some sense of camaraderie and fellowship and love and trying to hang out with people. And there was just like this barrier that we couldn't cross because government said you can't do this, you can't do that. And so we were kind of looking forward to or looking for that moment when we can spend time with our friends or go to the barber, get your hair done, or whatever. Like we were looking to go to see people. And now that we've gotten out of that, we've kind of changed again. We're not really looking for that anymore. Now it's back to this me first mentality society. And so just something simple as COVID, even though that's kind of complex, that changes people. It changes perspective. It changes thought process. It changes routine. And then we come out of that and we go right back to where we were. So there's stuff like that. I think world wars, I think that affects things, the economy, presidential elections, things like that. So I don't know. I think for the most part, every decade, people change. And whether that's culture or society or whatever, I think it has changed.
But and I mean, you brought up some really good points, especially obviously if there's drastic events that occur, obviously there's going to be some changes. I think that now it kind of goes more into that's all about me time. And you're right, like during COVID, it's like we kind of united, but we weren't together. But we became united. We were reaching out to more people. We, picking up the phone call or texting someone you hadn't spoke to in a while because you honestly didn't have a whole lot else to do. And then after we were able to get back to our lives and resume our lives, I think we went back to the kind of the selfishness I feel. And I take part in that in myself, and that's why I was kind of contemplating an idea to have an open discussion because you guys always have a really good perspective on how you guys view your lives, how you guys want to live your lives. Obviously, we're not perfect, but the idea of what's changing, especially in being a man in the household, because earlier last week, me and Jonathan had just brought up a conversation when we were at the gym that he had asked me to do I feel having a daughter and a son? Do I feel that the raising them or disciplining them or is any different because of the way he handles his little one and how he feels he's supposed to be as a man, as the father, the head of the household. And then, we got into a good discussion about that. I think it's changed. Um, I think I am kind of still a little bit old school. I do feel a little different on how I handle my son and daughter because of that. And that's why we were saying, well, we got to ask Michael because you have two daughters. In sense, if you had a son, I mean, obviously it's hard to say because you don't have a son right now, but how if you would feel you would handle them or talk to them or discipline them different because of the girls and guys, especially in a world now where basically everybody wants to be on the same line, but it can't be. It just can't.
Well, I think there's a couple of things to break down here. One is men and women were created different. They were just created different, right? And so they were given different responsibilities. What a man can or can't do doesn't mean a woman can or can't do. There are things that both can do, and there are things that both cannot do, and that's just science. That's biology. You can't. If you're a man, there are certain things you cannot do. If you're a woman, there are certain things you cannot do that a man can do. So there's that element. I think when I'm talking about training my children, there's a certain expectation that I have for my daughters and what I want for them. Now, when I have my son, that's different because I want him to be a better version of me. Although I want my daughters to be a better adult, a young adult, a person that is successful in the career world. Yes, I want them to be better, but I don't think like a woman. I think like a man. So I want to train my son to think like a man and to be a better version than I was, and so because he's going to be a man one day, I know how he thinks. I know how he's wired. I know his tendencies, and he's going to be like I am. He's going to struggle on the things that I struggle on. He's going to probably enjoy the things that I enjoy. Now, I have those things in my daughters, but it's just different because their biology is different. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes even that expectation might be different. Now, I expect my daughters to make good decisions. I expect my daughters to be loving to people, even if they are different. It doesn't matter what their skin color is. It doesn't matter what their disability is. We still love people. Now, that's the same expectation I would have for my son. But when we're talking maybe about leadership, my expectation of leadership for my son is different than for my daughters. Now, my son's not born yet, but that my expectation for that type of leadership is going to be different, even though he's the youngest. I just think that's the way it ought to be. I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to tell you how to, train your kids or whatever, right. But my expectation is going to be different because they are different.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of, you were kind of on the same lines with me and Jonathan were kind of discussing, because I had brought up a point that even though I know that my daughter is physically incapable of, let's say, cutting the grass, I want my son to do it. If I came home and I saw her cutting the grass and he was inside, I'd be upset. It's just, and I'm not sure, obviously, how I was raised. I mean, we obviously respect and we show respect to everyone, man or female. But I do, as you mentioned, the expectation of how you want it to be and how you were raised and the idea of it. And like I said, it's not that the fact that she can't physically do it. She can. It's just my belief is that if there is a man there, then he needs to do it. Even something as either simple as taking out the trash. I mean, if it's at nighttime and they got to roll the trash out, I prefer him to do it. She can and she will, and
she's physically capable
but it's just different. And Jonathan was kind of echoing the same idea because he feels like, if his young one falls down and scrapes his knee, he's like, get up, you'll be all right. But he was like, he wondered if he had a daughter, would he be, hey, clean it up? And I go, yeah. I said, because, and I both my kids play sports and they're active. And when I've seen my son get hurt or fall down, I'm like, you'll be all right. And then when my daughter got hurt, a few weeks ago, I saw myself attending to her differently. And it's not because I love them any differently. It's just the the idea or the perception that I feel that there is a little bit of difference. And I think going into this world now, that we want everyone to be treated equal and have equal rights. I mean, now, I mean, they're incorporating, females playing in male sports, and we've had that discussion. And so they're transitioning that thoughts and those feelings to have, but it's still not the same. And I think that takes away, or that can create problems for us, and I say us men who are trying to be the strength of the household and be the leaders of the household, but it's almost they're trying to remove our masculinity, and I think that's what the biggest problem is how as men we keep that masculinity, but also still having, obviously we want to have a sensitive side, we want to be caring, we want to be loving, we want to show devotion to each other, but I don't think it's the same. I don't think it's the same.
Well, I mean, I think part of that too is like when my daughter gets hurt or injured, there's a level of expectation. We just don't need to cry just to cry. Yeah. I get that she's hurt and she's going to be in her emotions and all that, but there's an element too where just the other day my youngest just was just done, and she just melted and she was upset. I'm like, we're not doing this. There's no reason for this. Now, if you're hurt and you need to cry, there's an element there that has its place. But we're just not going to fall down on the ground and just start crying because we skinned our knee up. We're not going to do that. I don't care if you're a boy or a girl. It's like you're going to get hurt. We don't just fall over and die. I mean, let's be sad when there's the moment to be sad, but we don't got to just sit there and whine and cry about it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so when we were playing basketball, I fell and was hurt a lot of times, and yeah, you gave me no attention or love. I do not.
Well, you're not a little girl, so there is that.
I'm a little boy.
But I don't know. I think it's, yes, I agree. You have to use judgment in it, because I agree. Don't send your daughter out on a dark night to take the trash out. Nowadays, you can't trust society in that. So I agree with that line, with that principle.
I got a question for y'all. Do y'all think modern gentleman culture has changed?
Yes.
In what ways?
Well, that's kind of what we're talking about, is that I do believe that we are trying to be, the society is trying to demasculate us with social media and the perception that they have of you don't have to be tough, and it's not, I don't necessarily say it's not about being tough, but it's just the fact of how, a man should be and how they should uphold themselves. I think they're feminizing it a lot. And
well, I think you've lost chivalry, guys being respectful.
Correct.
You've lost we all talk about our drip or our riz or all this stuff. It's like, guys, what that's all about you. What happened about being, caring about somebody else? We just a me first mentality. If we start caring about somebody else, that is a more honorable trait to have than worry about yourself. And we just use these words or drop these, we make up new words that it just really is all about us. And it's just like, it's frustrating. It's kind of annoying at times just to see these young kids who have so much potential. You can see their skill, yet they just give into culture. They give into society. And it's just like, dude, come on.
It goes into laziness, and that's not just generalized. I mean, numbers speak for themselves. You look at the unemployment rate, and they want to blame this and that, but there's jobs out there. It might not be what you want, but there's jobs out there, and I think that's another thing that goes into the masculinity of the world, is that the hard work, the perseverance through good times, bad times. I think it is missing. I mean, and maybe because of what they're portraying on social media, I think that people are trying to find an easy way out of doing things. They're trying to make a quick buck, and they don't want to work for it. They don't want to work hard for it. And I just think that's all incorporates to what we are as men and how we are of the household. Like you mentioned in the beginning, men and women, we are on the same level, but we are different. We're gonna respect and show love to our spouse, but it's different. And I think nowadays they're trying to change that. They're trying to take away that from us. and it's concerning, especially with the I would say the younger generation, because of the fact that how the unemployment rates. I mean, no, people don't want to work. They do not want to work, and they say I can't find a job. There's jobs out there.
There are.
There's jobs. There's not hiring signs everywhere, but it's if it's not going to make them famous or rich, they don't want to do it, and that's horrible. And even I saw a statistic, the average age of people working right now, I mean, it used to be 17, 18, and now, if I'm not mistaken, it has bumped up to like 20, 21. Like, how do you not have your first job until you're 20, 21? Unless you're completely devoted to a certain craft, or, you know, maybe you're in school. But if you're not in school or not, then what are you doing?
What was your first job?
I worked at Astroworld. It was basically our first
What?
Six Flags. Worked at Astroworld when I was 13. I could only work weekends. I know they changed the law, I think in 2005, but yeah, I was working at Astroworld, and I mean, I couldn't wait to go to work. It was fun. I mean, I remember, because my mom found some of my old paycheck stuff, I was getting like $40 for over the weekend, and I thought I was rich,
Big
balling.
And then you went and got a tattoo.
I saved up for it. Let's scratch this
You
off.
saved up for just the big owl.
Yeah. No. Well, that's what I actually saved up 2 paychecks. I had to buy me some lunch. But yeah, I remember collecting a $40 paycheck, and it was like, man, I earned this, because I mean, I don't think Astroworld had any child labor laws, because I was working like 12, 13-hour days. They were letting me get all the overtime possible, but and then I go back to school Monday, and I felt so proud to have a job, and I've honestly never have had a year that I did not work. I mean, since I was 13, 14. So
that was probably just like a job you actually went in and clocked in and all that, but you probably worked for your parents or did whatever.
We were helping my dad. My dad had a side business painting houses and doing construction. So we started that when we were about 6 or 7, and he actually would pay us really good. Picking up cans, we would go and he would pay us really good for, you know, being 7, 8 years old and having a weekend painting houses. I mean, he would pay us $150, $200, and that was a lot of money. And that's why I think till now is that I don't strive to have a lot of money. I just strive to be comfortable, and I
So do you do that for
it.
your kids?
Yes, if I have extra work, or if I need help around either cleaning the gym or a project, I'll pay it for it.
Yeah.
Because I want them to understand that, one, I mean, obviously you're going to have to do some kind of household work that you're not going to get paid. That's just your responsibility. But I also want them to understand that, one, that it feels good to be able to earn some money for working. And so I want you to have that kind of that attitude to where, you know, they'll both want to work. So right now with my daughter and the different activities, she's looking to possibly get like a Christmas job. She just turned 17, so she could work, and you know, she's not against the idea. So, but I think she should have started when she was 15. But my wife wasn't so comfortable with her, you know, working, and that's because of the way society is now. People crazy. Like, I don't blame her now.
Yeah.
Now to think about it, I don't blame her. I'm pretty sure you'll be that way with your daughters if the world doesn't change. You don't want them to go work at a drive-through, working a 12 to 2 shift, you know, at night, and they're females, but we didn't have to worry about that, you know, years ago. And I think that all still goes back to, one, it's no secret that the majority of the crimes are being committed by men. And you look at the statistics, they're either from households they're fatherless, you know, kids. They have no guidance. And if they didn't play sports where they had a coach to hopefully guide them, they're learning from people that are on the streets, or they're doing the same crime, and that's what we're missing that. So how do we change it? That's the big thing.
I think even in sports, like in public school or whatever, these coaches are having to manage their teams a lot differently than they managed before.
Correct.
I read a report not too long ago where a coach got fired from a school district because one of his players had thrown up in practice, football player, and I remember personally in football when I was in middle school, there was a time where we were doing up downs and everyone was throwing up. It was like not a thing. We didn't go cry to mommy at home or whatever. We just went back to practice the next day and we did it again or whatever. And you think about some of these kids and their training nowadays, it's just they're going to go tell their mom and dad's going to call the school, complain about the coach being too hard on this boy. This boy's probably needs some more discipline and self-discipline and more training, and and all that. And it's just wild how things have changed in that regard too.
Well, with that, I think it's kind of crazy because more of the kids that they started really paying attention to it because there was kids that were continuously passing away and dying, but they're looking at the ground level problem. They're not kind of going deep into the core of why it's occurring. It should not be occurring. So there's something that they're missing, of the fact that if they were being pushed too hard, they more than likely probably, if they didn't have no pre-existing medical conditions, that goes into the nutrition, that goes into the diet, that can go into, maybe they weren't prepared. Why weren't they prepared? Were they too lazy? I mean, there goes a lot of it, but they automatically say, okay, you can't be too hard on these kids now because we've had this and this many deaths. And I know coaches personally that it's hard for them. They there is no certain line to where you can push them because you don't know. So you have to hold back. And then, there's there are those good coaches that can find a good balance of both. But that's hard to come on. And these kids, if they're not getting the guidance or the support at home, back in the days, coaches would be the ones who would take up the slack. It's a dime a dozen, and it's not happening. It's not happening anymore. I mean, even for me, being that I'm going to coach in the gym per se, and I've had to change my attitude and my outlook on how I directly train, my kids, because I have to. Not all of them, but sometimes I had to feel I have to kind of coddle them and kind of baby them because of just the way the society is right now. It's different, but that's why we try to make changes one at a time. We try to lead our kids and the people around us, but it's pretty hard.
On that note, according to FinalTouchSchool.com, 4 of the qualities of a modern gentleman are well-mannered, hard worker, sharp appearance, and confidence. And as y'all have discussed, modern society and young men and even women are lacking that. So what are some practical ways that you guys think we can start gearing our young men or our children towards these 4 qualities? Well-mannered, hardworking, sharp appearance, and confident.
Yeah, that well-mannered should be number one, because I think kids these days, and obviously, disclaimer, we're not talking about everyone, but a majority of kids, their manners, even the simple old school manners, if you're walking into a door and you see a female or somebody behind you, step back, open the door for them, let them go through, just simple things like that. It's so crazy how I don't see it. And when you do, it's like shocking. I've made it a point a couple of times to, if I've been out grocery shopping and I see a young kid or a young man show respect or show manners, I always say, hey, good job. It's like you need that kind of reinforcement because you don't see it often.
Yeah. I think there's an element here, though, that where it starts is if the child's not seeing it in the mother and father, it's hard for the child to listen to that authority and say, I'm gonna do this, be well-mannered, use yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am type language when you don't even use it in the home either, and so you can't direct your child to do something if you're not willing to do it yourself. And we do that with words we shouldn't say. People swear, but they don't want their child to hear swearing, right? And they don't want their child to use swearing. I talked to a guy today, and we were talking about this at work, and he's like, oh, I don't swear on my kids. I said, then why do you do it at all? And he's like, well, I just don't want them saying it. Well, then why are you saying it? Like, if it's something that you don't want
are we
them.
Talking about me?
No, we didn't have this conversation, but you and I are.
I've done way better.
But that's what I'm saying, though, is like, if we don't want them saying it, why are we saying it ourselves? And it's the same thing with manners. If we want our child to say manners, then we ought to be saying them as well. If we don't want our kids to swear, then we got to stop swearing too. And so it goes both ways. It's the way you dress up. If you dress up like you don't care, then your kids won't care. If you're not well-mannered, they won't be well-mannered. And it starts really from the parents down, and that's how you have to lead.
Yeah, and kind of what we mentioned too is that, and if you don't have that guidance, then you hope to find someone. I mean, even me at 46 years old, I learned from you when you're like, you cuss a lot, and I do. And they're like, why do you have to cuss? And and I started becoming more conscious of it. And then not too long ago, when the kids brought up like, you don't let us cuss, but you cuss all the time. I go, do I cuss all the time? They're like, yeah. And that was kind of, it was embarrassing. And ever since we had that conversation, I've tried to be more cautious of it. And I think I've done a way better job. But even of course, I'm still learning. I'm still learning
Sure.
the proper guidance from someone. I think that's, but I also look to the point where I can respect you as a man, and I can take your feedback, and I can take your understanding. And I think that's what's missing with the well-mannered aspect of it. That there's not enough guidance, and we have to continuously educate and direct them to do that.
And I think there's a certain self-confidence that people or kids lack, young adults lack, because they want validation in social media. You know, kids are always on social media nowadays, it seems like, whether it's a new app or, you know, Facebook, Instagram, any of those things. And what they're checking is they're checking their likes, how many likes they get, how many hearts or whatever, all the things. Yeah, and that's where they get their validation. And they've got to keep posting to get a reaction, and so that they feel like they're somebody, they're something important. And we got to be careful to not have that. We can't be training our kids like that growing up and letting them just run through social media and not have any guidance from the home. One thing we try to do at home is whenever our child makes a great decision, a good decision, we say, "Hey world, so-and-so made a character decision and she did this," or whatever. We give her she's 5 years old, so it's a huge thing for them. I mean, when they're 15, they probably don't want that, right? But there are certain small things that we do for our child to give them some of that self-confidence, some of that structure that they did something, and it's something that's worth applauding them for. You know, whether they're respectful or they go and do something that that we didn't ask them to do, but that's something we expect them to do. We want to call that out, because what people are doing is they're going to social media. Okay, how many did I get? 172 likes this time? Well, why did I get 100? Or why did they get 200 likes and I only got 170? And they start being envious, and they start judging somebody else, and they start worried about what they're not getting based off of people looking at your posts and what you ate on social media. Like no one, I mean, really, people don't care. It just is crazy.
And I think that segues into the next part of the hard work. It's they put on, if they put as much effort into what they're posting and what they're doing, then there could be a lot more productivity in the world, period. There could be a lot more, society would be able to give back a lot more if they would spend that much time into it. Because for hard work, I don't know how you could actually try to teach someone how to gain hard work. I think that it's either inbred in them at an early age, or it's something that you continuously show to them. Hey, look, I'm not lazy, I'm hard working. But I mean, that's a tough one, because now, as we said earlier, a lot of people just don't want to work no more.
Well, just think about. I don't have the stat, but there's a stat out there that talks about the amount of time a young adult between the ages of 14 and 20 spend on social media. And let's say hypothetically that's 2 hours a day.
Oh yeah, it's hours for sure.
What if you cut that in half and took that other hour and a half and you went and you were more productive on something? It doesn't have to be necessarily about finances, going and working, but maybe it's studying something, reading or going and helping with your mother or your father to take care of something in the house, or whatever. Go knock. We talked about a few weeks ago about you and your neighbor.
Yeah.
Have you done anything with your neighbor since?
Oh yeah, no, he was out there helping when I was doing my little Halloween stuff, and
So
came
there
by
you
to see
go.
what I was doing.
We need to be going to our neighbors, like spending an extra hour or reducing an hour of our time on social media and going out and getting in the sun and going outside, touch grass, go do stuff.
That statistic is 5.8 hours a day for teens.
God.
I was way off. So yeah,
Well, I said a few hours, but golly, 5 hours is a long time.
Yeah,
I mean, I know they're not mentioning it maybe all at once, but combined, that's a lot. That's a lot of time. If most normal teenagers or kids have 10-hour days. I mean, by the time they wake up, go to school, come home.
I mean, it's probably longer than that.
10, 12 hours, probably, let's say. But
I mean, if they wake up at 6, you'd think they're going to bed at 6?
Okay, well, let's say about 12, 14 hours, but still 5 hours of that day.
I mean, yeah, I get it. 5 hours is still a lot, but
I'm going to try that tomorrow. I'm going to time myself. I'm going to see if I can hit 5 hours. I probably would I give up after an hour.
I'm pretty sure on your phone you can go to a setting and it tracks how much data is used for each app.
No.
And so you can see in your week or in your day how much social media or whatever app you use, whether it's a messaging app, an email app, or whatever app, you can see how much time you're devoting to your day to that app. And so if it's Facebook or whatever other social media it might be, you can see that metric, and you can even look on your kid's phone and see what they're doing too. And,
I know my wife has that for the kids to be able to see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check mine and be like, what? I'm on it 12 hours? Good. I thought it was only when I'm in the restroom. I mean, come on now. Everybody scrolls through social media on that, but it is pretty cringeworthy. Well, not you because I have Instagram, but still.
But my point is if we just took, okay, let's say that's 5 hours, right? So take 2.5 hours in your day and go do something. You know, if you want to be successful, go get off of social media and go do something. I'm not saying you can't make money on social media. I'm not saying any of those things, but the amount of people that just sit there. I remember the first time I downloaded TikTok, I got sucked in. I was on there for 3 hours before I realized it's midnight. I mean, I just got drawn in.
Just fall into the rabbit hole.
Yeah, because there's so many, like, people are just so clever. They are just very interesting. The way they do things in life, it's very intriguing. I'm into a lot of woodworking, a lot of hunting and things like that. And it's just so captivating, all the different things you can find on social media. And it drew me in, right? And I spent 3 hours, the first night I had TikTok, 3 hours. And I didn't even realize 3 hours went by. It was so fast, you know, but kids are every day doing that. Every day they're spending that much time or more, 5 hours. So it's wild. And then we wonder why society, we don't want to go hang out. We have a family dinner at my house every Sunday night. My mom, my sisters, and their husbands and acquaintances or boyfriends or whatever come over to the house, and we have family dinner every Sunday night. And it's one of the highlights of my week to be able to go do that. But not many families get to do that. Not many families take the time to make that happen. And that started as a small thing, and it's just grown, and now it's a tradition we want to keep up. Now there's sometimes people are sick or can't make it or whatever. We still do it, but man, we've got to be able to develop a culture within your family unit, with your immediate family, and start changing it. And maybe you invite your neighbor over and y'all just start a Sunday brunch or Sunday dinner or whatever, grill, go hang out.
Human connection.
Human connection.
Because that's what's missing with the people that, they live their lives through Instagram. A lot of times when you either meet someone or you actually, somebody who you follow, then you meet them in person and they're completely different. They're, it's almost like they have social anxiety and they can't interact, they can't talk. If you guys come up to me, I'm going to still be the same person. Maybe you'll see me in my T-Rex outfit, but Michael's usually the exact same person, is because we've taken that time to build that human connection. Yeah. James, too. I mean, Jonathan does a great job. I mean, Jonathan would be good to speak on this because the fact that he uses social media for his life.
That's what his
livelihood.
Yeah.
But he's also the same person outside of it. His morals and his respect and his well-mannered, his hard work ethic is all still the same, but it's not like that with a lot of people.
That's what happens when you're self-disciplined, though. We're talking about kids who aren't disciplined to then think that they can go and be a gamer or a TikToker or a whatever. If you go and work and you're self-disciplined and you don't let life consume you, you own life and you make good decisions, I'm telling you, you'll be successful. But when you just give in to culture and you give in to society and what they dictate, I mean, you're just going to fall in the same trap millions of people do every day.
Yeah, those cringe videos where I watch where they ask kids, where do you want to be when you grow up? And, back in the days, it was a doctor. I want to be a football player. I want to be an astronaut. And these people are like, yeah. Now they did a video and the kids were a rapper, or they wanted to be a movie star, or they wanted to be a YouTuber. And it's like, man, that for that point to change, it's scary. I mean, it's scary what their expectations are. And that goes into, they're usually not well-mannered, and they're definitely not wanting to work.
Yeah.
And once again, we're not referring to every single, kid or young man in the world, but the percentages are going a lot higher, though.
When do you think a young individual, whether it's a boy or girl, should start thinking about their career path? At what age, or
Oh.
what grade in high school or whatever? Should they start seriously considering that?
Well, see, I guess because we had just had this conversation with my daughter that she's going to be a senior next year, and I'm like, what do you want to do? She's like, I don't know. And I was like, it's okay not to know exactly now, but you have to have an idea of what you might be interested in at least. I mean, because you can change. I changed majors in college. I went from gearing toward in more psychology, and I switched to business. But I still had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I still knew early on, even when I was graduating high school, I knew what I wanted, what type of field I wanted to get into. I didn't know what I was going to do, and definitely these days kids don't. And I think it should be by the time you're a senior, because you're going to be an adult, and that's real life. Like.
And if you're gonna be a senior, adulting is happening in less than a year, And I remember leaving project graduation.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And it was like, there's no more school. Now, if I go to college, there's more school.
Right, but you don't have to.
But yeah,
It's
but
your
it was
choice.
like, it's like, now it's my choice. Now I've got to go make life happen. Like, I can't rely on mom and dad anymore. I've got to go own life. And I remember just it was just a surreal feeling to know that I'm not ever going back to high school. And then I had an even greater experience leaving college. I'm like, I'm never going back to college. Like, I was done.
And that's what the choice you made, but you had an idea, you had a sense, because when you're coming out of high school, you're like, I'm going to college. And even nowadays, you ask, kids 17, 18, they don't know. And my daughter knows that she wants to go to college. She doesn't know what she wants to do. So I just started telling her, well, you have a year to start just thinking, to start kind of coming up with a plan. The better chances of success you'll have is if you have a plan. Mm-hmm. You want to get into college? Okay, good. That's step one. Now, what kind of classes do you want to start? I know you're going to take your basics. You're going to get those knocked out. But time's going to start flying, and then next you know, you're coming to graduation going, I have no idea what I want to do.
Well, there's an element here that I think kids struggle with, is because I struggled with it. I know other people have. But to know all the possibilities out there. Like, there are probably career paths that you and I don't even know of, but how do people know that? It's about your community of individuals you hang out with, and that's really about how you find things out. And so what was beneficial for me is when I went to college, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be an architect, and I pursued that, and I could not get through to that. And once I finally got somewhere close to it, I was like, this is really not what I want to do. I'll go be an engineer. And then I started going through the mathematics and the sciences on engineering, and I was like, yeah, this ain't for me. And so I just stumbled across on the U of H campus. I stumbled across a construction management program, and I was like, man, do I want to do construction for the rest of my life? And took the first class, and sure enough, it opened up a world of possibilities, jobs that I didn't even know existed.
Oh, of course.
And it's like, how do we get kids geared up or make them aware of all the job opportunities that are out there? I mean, there's so many job opportunities in healthcare and sales. There's all kinds of sales that people do and office buildings. And there's just so many jobs everywhere. How do we make them aware of that kind of stuff?
I mean, you answered your own question. You just went out and did it. You went and took all these different classes, and you're like, I don't like that. That's still taking the initiative. That's making a decision. I'm going to go down this route. Nope, I don't like it. I'm going to make the responsible decision to find something else. That's fine. I mean, we're definitely not saying you have to pick something we're going to do and go do it, but start. Because you could have gave it up after your first architectural classes and figure, nope, this ain't for me, and then quit school altogether. Mm-hmm. But you went and enrolled in engineering classes. That's not working out for me. So you could have quit at that point. So that just shows that what they have to do is they have to get there, do something. And even if it's not even going to college, because, you're not guaranteed success with college, but those that have found success without college have found a route to try to travel to, and if it doesn't work out, they go. They never stop. They just don't give up and just stay at home and live off the system,
Right.
And that's the problem of how to get them, like you said, to keep going. If you fail, keep on going. Yep. Keep on going. But, I mean, I did the same thing going through college, and I made different decisions. And then I waited 5 years to go back to college and to grad school. And I wish I could remember more during those 5 years why I did not want to go. And then all of a sudden I was like, I think I'm going to go back to school. I mean, it's still kind of strange. I mean, Kind of regret it a little bit. That was tough, but I realized that trying to do homework when you're a grown man is not the same. You're
Well,
like,
that's all right. I went to school for 9 years, and usually when people go to school for 9 years,
You're
they
a
walk.
doctor.
They're a doctor. I'm no doctor.
We're just like, oh, you Dr. Jenkins. Welcome to the show, Dr. Jenkins. Oh, wait. I just spent 9 years in college, but I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, only my undergrad.
Yeah, I'm on that about 6 more. Hey, what was the last one, James? The well-mannered, the hardworking, and what was
It
the
was
third?
confidence.
Oh, confidence. Okay, well, yeah.
Well,
We touched that
y'all
on
touched on confidence already, but the one you didn't talk about was sharp appearance.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And I know that can be a touchy subject sometimes, but
Yeah, we talked about that on a previous show too, about different lines of work. You appear differently. You know, it just depends. I mean, for instance, you own a gym, and your appearance is not what I would wear to my construction job. You know, and even inside my construction job, there are many facets to construction. There's office staff, there's field staff, and those two types of staff do not wear the same work
I
attire.
was about to ask that.
You know, like today I had a presentation I made in front of an architect and a board of individuals for a potential job. So this is what I wore. You know, it's different than what you wore to train individuals at your gym, you know. But even my superintendents that are on job sites, they're not wearing stuff like this. They're wearing things that are different because they're out there in the mud, you know, or whatever, and they're on jobs. So it's different. But what I would say and recommend to an individual is to dress with intention. If you're intentional about what you're wearing, then you're going to come across someone who at least has some sort of discipline. If you don't care what you look like, that's going to show that you're a person that doesn't care. And that's why I would just say be intentional with how you present yourself.
Do you believe in that old saying, don't dress for the job you have, dress for the job you want to have, as an old saying? I said, well, that's probably when I always knew that I wanted to open up a gym. So when I used to work for the city, I would show up to work like this. I'm dressing like the job I want to have, not the job I have now.
Yeah.
I mean, Barajas, you cannot be wearing gym shorts and a T-shirt. No, I want to be wearing. This is what I want to. But it's still an appearance, though, because you know I still care about how I look and how I dress. Even I'm in gym clothes. I mean. I think but that's instilled in my head from the very beginning too. With, like you said, depending on your job and how people perceive you. Unfortunately, nowadays too, and it's always going to be the same, that you are going to be judged on your first appearance. That's just the way it goes, and I don't think that's ever going to change. We can say we don't, but we do. We all judge people on their first appearance, for sure. Do you? Are you back me up on this one? Yeah, no.
Well, I mean, like for instance, we talked about how, you know, if someone came for an interview and they didn't care about how they looked in an interview, that means to me, as someone who's hiring somebody, that they're not going to care about what they look like coming to work every day.
Sure.
If they're not even going to show up for the interview, at least intentionally dressed, then they're intentionally not going to wear the uniform or the whatever. Not that we wear uniforms, but there's a certain standard in our company that there are certain things we don't wear. You know, and if none of us cared, we'd all look like whatever, unintentional dressed individuals, whatever that would be. But I just present yourselves like somebody who cares about what they look like, not selfish or full of being, you know, pride or anything like that, but be intentional. I don't know how else to say other than the same thing over and over again.
And then, because that's one thing that I've always been that way. I take in consideration every time that I get dressed if I'm going to go somewhere out in public, because I feel like I have a brand to represent. I don't have to be fancy name brand clothes or anything like that, but I still know that I have an appearance that I want to uphold. I want to be able to have, if I come across somebody new or run into somebody that I've known for a long time, or it's been years since I've seen them, I want them to say, okay, well, Alex is still looking good. He's still keeping himself, you know, together, and you know, and like I said, it has nothing to do with the branding or anything like that. Just be presentable, and like I said, just your appearance. It does make a big difference.
So, do you comb your hair every day, and why?
I even comb my hair before I go to bed, which is weird because when I wake up in the morning, I'm like,
Bro, you don't wear deodorant. You don't comb your hair before bed.
Yeah. Hey, well, you got to clear up the fact that I don't wear deodorant, because I feel that I don't think they invent deodorant to invent other things for like dry skin. I got silky smooth baby skin. My wife tells me all the time. I'm never ashy. Never ashy. Look at that. Soft hands, soft skin. I don't use deodorant and soap, and I smell good. Nobody's ever complained about how I smell. This is my natural. It's my natural odor.
Y'all don't smell it, but there's a smell here.
No, I smell delicious.
Those are not words I would have used.
That's what you were thinking. I forgot what it was. It threw me off with that it was.
Do you comb your hair?
Oh yeah, before I go to bed. Yeah.
What? Why?
It's all about appearance, man. You don't know. Somebody breaks
No
in.
one's looking at you. You're all asleep.
Somebody breaks in. I'm running outside the house. They're like, man, that guy looks sharp.
No one's gonna care, bro.
Oh, I would not answer the door if I do wake up in the morning and my hair's all over the place, and if there's somebody at the door, I won't answer until I fix my hair.
What?
Yeah. And I'll change out of my pajamas.
No, I'm losing hair. I don't care. I do brush my hair like when I go out or whatever. Or I'll put a ball cap on. If, I need to hide whatever hair I've got left.
One time I was out of town and at the hotel, the fire alarm went off, and I walked out, and then I was like, and I walked back in. I washed my face. And I combed my hair. I put hair gel in it. And then when I walked out, they were yelling. They're like, out, out. And I was like, all right. I didn't want to tell them. I just went back in just to fix my hair. Man, you don't know what you might meet downstairs when everybody's waiting in the fire thing to find out what's going on.
The fire tank?
No, I say fire thing. Whatever the fire alarm was about. You'd be out there chit-chatting. I was single at that time. You don't know. You know who you might meet out there. Hey, you want to grab a bagel after this?
A bagel.
I stayed at hotels where it was free continental breakfast. I'll take you to a free continental breakfast.
Oh, your poor wife.
It's appearance, man. I'm well-mannered. I'm hardworking. And it's sharp appearance. Had to make sure.
You're totally not confident.
No, I'm not confident. Not after today. Not after I lost you in basketball. You took all my confidence, quite honestly.
Again.
Yeah, no. I'll give it to you. Anyways.
Beat him in golf. Beat him in basketball.
Yeah, but we still have bowling. You've been dodging me.
I've not been dodging.
You have been dodging it. I've said it.
Bro,
bowling.
you wanted to play me with me not using bumpers, but you get to use bumpers? Like, I'm not playing like that.
That's what is it called in golf? It's called a handicap, ain't it?
Bro,
what? Ain't it? It's called
it's
a
not a
handicap.
charity league here.
Trying to win something. Dominoes or something? No, I'm not good at dominoes. No, what did you say you weren't good at? You said
Darts.
Oh no, yeah, darts. I beat you at darts.
Axe throwing.
Yeah, we're not doing that. Neither one of us.
Why?
No, there's no way in heck I'm throwing an axe. There's no.
Too heavy for you, buddy?
No, I am not throwing it.
We're not throwing him at each other. We're throwing him at a wooden wall.
Yeah, but
I'll beat you in cornhole.
You see the way? No, not at all. Not
Oh,
cornhole, for
100%.
sure.
We would all just, except for John.
No,
John
I don't think you know that. I could have gone professional in cornhole for sure. I've won tournaments.
You said
just to
that
let you
about
know.
basketball.
I was always lying about that. But no, in cornhole, I've actually won some tournaments. I'm actually really good. I don't know why, but I'm actually really good.
Me
I
and CB
promise.
won a tournament. Like a
Well,
month
if
ago.
if CB's on your team, then I don't want to play because he is the man. I don't want to play, but I'll definitely. Okay, me and CB against you, and we'll take it.
Eminem. Is that what you said?
And them. That's
Oh.
what I'm referring to y'all. And them. We'll take it. Okay, so now we have to mark it. So we have it recorded. So me and CB against you and James and Cornell.
All right.
Winner buys dinner.
Winner buys dinner.
Yeah.
All right.
Wing. What's it? Chicken wing.
So
Chicken wing dinner.
you owe me 2 dinners now?
Yeah. Man, I couldn't walk for 3 months after that. I'm not playing basketball no more. Anyway.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was. So what was the last one? Was that it? Did we just educate the world on how to be a better man and well-mannered, hardworking, appearance, and confidence? Seems pretty good.
Yep.
Very good points. Thank you.
Be awesome.
Be awesome.
You know what awesome stands for?
What?
Articulate, well-trained, enthusiastic, sincere, original, motivated, and excited.
That's pretty good. I'm gonna have to write that down. I was trying to think in my head what the O would be, and that's actually pretty good. Be original, be yourself. That's good. Very good. See, you learn something new every day. Very good.
And that's a wrap.
Yes, great show. Thank you guys. Very good. Well, welcome to the Radcast. We should. Oh wait, sir, are you still recording? This is honor.
You want to do an intro?
Yeah, let's do it in honor of Jonathan.
All right.
Hey everyone.
Let's both. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. What camera do we want to do this on?
The center camera.
Center camera? Okay, we all gonna have to lean it. Start farther back and come in real close. Right there.
There you go.
Hey everyone, welcome to the APECS Podcast.
What?
APECS. Wait, we're trying to be like Jonathan. Hello everybody, welcome to the APECS Podcast. This is T-Rex. Alex cannot be here today, and he's in replace of Jonathan. So I just want to say thank you for having us out here. We're going to be discussing how to be a man in this time. How are we going to be well-mannered, hardworking, confident, and be sharp-dressed. Thank you.
And not act like an absolute goofball in front of the whole world.
Well dressed. I'm a dinosaur.